Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It has been a hot minute since I sit down and film a YouTube video, so this will be a life update, what's been going on. I want to focus on exactly why I also stopped breastfeeding at 7 months postpartum, when my goal was initially to make it to a year. Do you guys want like the short answer or the long answer? I've shared my difficulties with breastfeeding over on Instagram and TikTok, and I've made a video about like what helped me, what products I use. So you can definitely go check those out. I'll leave them linked down below. But you know me, I don't like long intros or anything like that. Hi, I missed you guys. I'm back and let's get into it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. If you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, then you already know. But the number one reason why I stopped breastfeeding is that I am pregnant. Now, I'm pregnant. I got pregnant when I was around like 6 to 7 months postpartum. This was not a planned pregnancy, but it is very much desired and I am very excited. So let's back up. What does that have to do with me stopping breastfeeding? Because you can certainly continue to breastfeed when you are pregnant, and I've made TikToks and Instagram posts about that, but what exactly happened to me? So here's a little bit of an update. Back in April of this year, my sister called my husband and I. My sister is like an avid runner. She's run a bunch of half marathons. Like she's very into like fitness. She plays volleyball, like all this stuff. So she calls us in April and she was like, hey, do you guys want to start training to do a half marathon with me this summer? Like we can pick a really cool city, we can explore, and then also do this half marathon. And my husband and I are like not runners by any means, but we were like, you know what, like that sounds like fun. Like let's just challenge ourselves. And I was postpartum and I was like, you know what, I need to start doing something for myself and spend time for myself. I always know that exercise helps my mental health and my mood. So I was like, you know what, I hate running, but I'm gonna do it. So we made this commitment to run a half marathon in July. I think it was like July 27th or July 28th, and we picked the San Francisco half marathon. So around this time, I was still breastfeeding and I had gotten my first period back in March when I was like 3 to 4 months postpartum. So I got my first period back in March and I was like, okay, let me start tracking it again because while I'm still breastfeeding, I know this is not birth control. So I use the Flow app, so I just started tracking it through that. Usually when your period comes back, some women can experience a decrease in milk supply. I didn't really, which was great because was an exact producer, meaning I made exactly the amount of milk that my daughter needed. And some days I'd even have to supplement with formula, especially for like the nighttime feedings, which I was okay with. So anyway, we're training for this half marathon. We use the Nike Run Club app, which is incredible. It's free. It's completely changed me in the best way possible. Like I love to run now. Yes, is it still hard? Like yes, all the things, but the endorphins that you get afterward and just the feelings, like I fell in love with Coach Bennett. If you use the Nike Run app, you know exactly what I mean. It is incredible and I encourage you to check it out. Okay, let me stop getting sidetracked. So started training in April. We went to Paris for the Taylor Swift concert and just on a family vacation in May. And we're training. And around like mid-May, end of May, I started noticing a significant decrease in my milk supply. And I could tell that when Nellie was like attached, she would like detach and cry and scream. And I'm like, I don't think I'm making as much. When I would pump at work, I used to get, especially the first pump of the day, I would get 5 to 6 ounces, usually from my left breast because that was my not over producer, but my better producer. And I was making like 1 to 2 ounces. And I was like, this is weird. And then of course, like I'm an OBGYN. I was like, well, I got my period back in March. I got it in April, but like I'm usually, when I'm not breastfeeding, like when I'm not pregnant, obviously like 28 to 29 day cycles, like very regular, but I was still breastfeeding. So I got it in March. I got my next period like 37 days after, which is expected because I was breastfeeding. And then I got a period also in May when we were in Paris, and I remember exactly the date because it was the day of the Taylor Swift concert. So it was like May 9th or whatever. And I was like, of course I get my period in Paris. And it was hysterical because then back from the concert, my husband didn't go, but I went with my friend. And then like I had to switch out my SIM card or my memory card, whatever it's called. Recently also just cut my hair, and I feel like I'm trying to style it so it's not like, but here we are. Ignore it. Anyway, while we're in Paris, I had to have Corey go down to like the local pharmacy to get me pads and tampons, and obviously everything's in French, and he had to like ask the pharmacist to help like find the supplies because I was like, I can't leave. You need to go do this. And he did, and it was hysterical. But anyway, we got back from the trip, and like I said, like at end of March, mid-March, I noticed a decrease, but I was like, okay, periods are back. They're starting to get more regular. I'm working out a lot. Like I was running some days, like 10 plus miles for like the training program. Like some days it would just be like 25-minute runs. Other days it'd be 6 miles, 8 miles. So when you start working out more consistently postpartum, that can also cause a decrease in your supply. So I'm like, well, maybe that's what's happening. And like, I was really sad about it because I really, really wanted to make it a year of breastfeeding Nellie. And it's funny because when I was pregnant, my goal was 6 months. Then I started breastfeeding and it was so challenging and so hard, and I almost gave up. And I was like, no, I can do this. I can do this for a year. And I had that set in my mind, like it's gonna happen for a year. At the beginning of June, my supply was even like less and less, and Nellie would get so frustrated. And then I was getting really frustrated. I was like doing all the things to try and increase my supply. I was drinking so much water. I bought all the cookies, all the snacks, eating and like Googling all the tips and tricks, and like nothing was helping. And like I would pump and it would literally just be like half an ounce at that point. Like it was so pathetic. And so then this was like mid-June. I am part of this like Facebook group of like doctor moms who are breastfeeding, and like it is such a good resource, and like I've learned so much, and like they give so many tips of like when to pump at work, what works best, like all the anyway, it's just a group of doctor moms and a great community, and I've learned so much. And so I was gonna make a post on like, hey, like any like Hail Marys, anything I can do to try and like increase my supply. And like I was, wanted to explain my periods and my workout and my half marathon goals and all this stuff. I log on, and the first post that I see is from another mom. And she was like, hey, I'm about 6 months postpartum, which is what I was. And she's like, I've noticed a significant decrease in my supply. I've done XYZ. I am working out. It was I literally felt like I could have been the one to write that post. I was going to write that post. And so I'm like, perfect. And let me just read people's comments. Every single comment on that post was, you should take a pregnancy test. You should take a pregnancy test. You should take a pregnancy test. I was like, huh. And I was like, I am an OBGYN. But I think at that point I was just like in such deep denial that that was even a possibility, that my mind wasn't even going there. And so I read this post, Corey's at work, and all day, like I remember that day, I went to the mall with my mom and my sister. We went out to dinner. Like I spent the whole day with them, and the whole day I was like, I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant. Like I was like, I need to take a test. But anyway, I get home, Corey gets home from work, and as soon as he gets home from work, I was like, babe, I think we need to go buy a pregnancy test. And he was like, why? And I was like, I think I'm pregnant. And we both started laughing. And then I was like, you know what? No, I'm being silly. Like, I'm still like hormonal. I'm still postpartum. Like, it's just ridiculous. I'm like, let's not buy it. Like let's just, go on with our night. I was like, maybe I'll do it next week if I still haven't gotten my period. But my period can be irregular because I'm breastfeeding. But anyway. And he was like, absolutely not. He like grabbed his car keys. He's like, we're going to Walgreens right now and we're going to buy a pregnancy test because I need to know. We need to know. And I was like, fine. So we go to Walgreens. I get my clear blue pregnancy test. And I'm like laughing like at the cashier because I'm like clearly holding this like baby and buying a pregnancy test. And it was just in my mind, I was like, the OBGYN. Like, anyway. So we get home. And I'm like, okay, this is how it's gonna work. I was like, I'm going to, because I got the digital one that says like pregnant, not pregnant. So I was like, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go pee on the stick, and then I'll put it face down, and then I'll call you over and we'll do it together. We'll flip it over after the 5 minutes and we'll do it together. And so he was like, okay, like that, great plan. And I'm like, just nervous. And anyway, go to the bathroom. I'm peeing on the stick. As I am peeing, actively peeing on the stick, pregnant. It just turns like that. And so I come out of the bathroom laughing. I'm like hysterically laughing, holding this thing. And he's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I'm pregnant. It turned as a midstream turned. And we just started laughing. I didn't film any of it because I was going to film us doing it together, which nope, I was just super pregnant. And so at this point, like with my last menstrual period being the day of the Taylor Swift concert, I would have been like 5 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever it was. And so I was like, I need to call my OB. I need to schedule, I want to get an ultrasound, like how far along I am and all this stuff. And so, yeah, it happened. As soon as I got in with my OB and we did the ultrasound, they couldn't really see anything. There was nothing there. So then I'm like, am I just earlier? Like, what's happening? Like, my LNP was clearly, my last menstrual period was clearly unreliable, because when you're breastfeeding, like ovulation is just, there's no way to track it. Your body just does whatever it wants to do, because prolactin levels can be high, it can suppress ovulation, it makes your periods irregular, like there's just no way to track it. So then I had to wait a couple more weeks, we re-scanned, and then I ended up being 6 weeks at that scan, so my LMP was completely off. And yeah, but normal, healthy, happy pregnancy. And not happy for me, I have been miserable, but happy for the baby. That's where I've been. That's the big life update. And you can watch my other videos of my pregnancy with Nellie. Pregnancy does not sit well with me. Like the nausea and vomiting and fatigue and tiredness and the anxiety and depression that I get in the first trimester, it is so debilitating. I don't even know that I could make a video on it right now. Now that I'm in my second trimester, I feel better, but I do at some point want to talk about especially my mental health in the first trimester and how that just like the last 3 months have been so challenging. But anyway, I'm here, I'm better, the pregnancy is healthy, I'm doing great. But that's why I've been absent and I didn't make content. I didn't post on TikTok and Instagram for almost 2 months, I want to say. Like I was just gone. I did not have the mental capacity or the energy to do anything but try and get out of bed every morning and take care of my daughter. And I'll hopefully make another video on that, because I do hope my experience helps some of you guys. But that's where I've been. For those wondering, yes, I still ended up running the half marathon. I ran it when I was 10 weeks pregnant, and I'll insert this picture here. No one knew at that time besides my mom, dad, sisters, and like 2 of my friends. I don't know, I didn't want to tell anyone else, but I ran it and I'm so proud of myself for doing it. I cannot wait to run more and do more half marathons. I didn't run the whole way through. I ran the first 9 miles without stopping, and then between miles 9 and 10, I walked that mile, and then mile 10 to 13.1, I did a mixture of like running, walking, running, walking. But it was an incredible experience. The weather that day in San Francisco was amazing. And yeah, I'm going to continue to do that. And I want running to be a part of my life forever. But that is my life update. Oh, let me tell you why my milk supply tanked. Because there are some people that can breastfeed in pregnancy. But what tends to happen is when you get pregnant, your HCG, or that pregnancy hormone, gets really high. And so it tells your brain and your body like, hey, we're pregnant. We no longer have to make milk for someone else because we're now growing life, if that makes sense. So it's almost like the hormone shift shuts other stuff down because now you're growing a baby. That doesn't mean that for all women it's going to completely decrease your supply and end it, but that's what's happened to me, especially in the first trimester, in the first couple weeks. With all of the shifts in hormones, most do experience a decrease in supply, but if you stay consistent, I mean, like increase water intake, certain like foods and diet and stuff like that, a lot of women are able to get their supply back up by the second trimester. For me, I was just out. I was trying to survive. My nausea and vomiting was so bad. There were only certain foods that I could eat and tolerate, and even water would sometimes trigger my nausea and my vomiting. So my supply was just trash. And so now Nellie is just on formula. It's okay. I didn't hit my goal of 1 year. I have overcome that and I'm okay with it because I just want this pregnancy and this baby to be extremely healthy. And hey, I did 6 to almost 7 months of breastfeeding Nellie, and I'm proud of myself for that because I really struggled, if you guys remember. So that's kind of my story and what happened with that. But I encourage you, if you want to keep up with breastfeeding and you're pregnant, you can still do it. Just it may be challenging in the first trimester, but a lot of women are able to still do it throughout the second and third trimester, which is great. That's my little life update for you guys. I'm going to be more consistent on YouTube now that I feel so much better. There's so many topics that I've like already taken notes on and want to film for you guys. So stay on the lookout for that. But before I go, I wanted to mention my scrubs. This is Fig's collaborations with F Cancer or FUCK Cancer, an organization that they are raising money for to help with like early prevention screenings, education, making it more accessible for women to have screens. So yeah, I wanted to shout that out because first, the color is adorable. I love pink, and I think by the time this video is up, it's going to be launched and you can go check it out. I'll leave them linked down below, but the proceeds of that goes to that F Cancer. And I think like Figs by themselves are making a $50,000 donation to the organization, which is incredible. And let this be your reminder to stay up to date on your mammograms. If you feel a lump, if you feel anything abnormal, go to your doctor. Do not delay it. The earlier breast cancer is detected, the better outcomes, the better treatment plans. So definitely do not ignore any sort of abnormality. It's better to be safe than sorry. It's better for it to just be a benign cyst or something like that. And it's better just to get ahead of it. So I encourage you to check out the scrubs and do your screening, do your self-exams every single month. Okay, so I'm going to end the video here, but if you guys have questions more about this pregnancy, if you want me to make a video concerning my pregnancy, how I'm handling it this time around, what I'm going to do, am I going to have a VBAC or TOLAC, or am I going to do a repeat C-section? I'm going to fill you guys in. I'm going to take you along. I'm so glad to be back. I'm so glad to be feeling like myself again. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!